Welcome back to the Webby and O'Neill channel, and it's an absolute pleasure to be sat here with Ryan Giggs, the most decorated British footballer of all time. And I must say on a personal level, Ryan, you're my most favourite Manchester United player in my lifetime. So for me to be sat here today having a chat with you...
You say that to everyone, don't you?
No, I don't actually. They don't actually give me a chance, Webby or O'Neill, to actually interview anyone, but today
Thank you.
I insisted. So yeah, an absolute pleasure to talk to you about Manchester United. I'm going to get onto the stadium first. A lot of noise surrounding whether we should move to a new stadium or refurbish the current Old Trafford. What's your preference?
Well, my preference would be to keep the stadium if possible, but it's got to be possible. It's got to be viable financially. And listen, we want to be sat here in 10 years' time having the best stadium in the world, because we're the biggest club in the world. We need the best facility. We need the best stadium. We need the best fan experience where players love playing. So if that can be the existing stadium, great. If not, then we have to move and build a new one. It's as simple as that. I'm not precious either way. We need the best stadium in the world. And whether that be on the site now or a new stadium, listen, you know, everyone will have memories of Old Trafford, but them memories will never go away. You know, the memories in your mind. So, you know, I have memories of a fan early on, then obviously as a player, now as a fan. You know, they're memories that are in my mind and in my brain that will never, ever go away. So I'm not precious about if it has to be a new stadium, as long as, you know, best in class in the world.
Yeah, the Chief Marketing Officer for Snapdragon, Don Maguire, has also mentioned that they would be interested in the naming rights as well to Old Trafford, so possibly call it, let's say, the Snapdragon Stadium at Old Trafford. So is that a progression as well, going down the line with a new stadium, selling the naming rights?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean...
Will it always be Old Trafford to you?
I think it will always be Old Trafford, yeah. And again, you know, let's not get hung up on naming rights. Whatever will be, as long as we've got the best stadium, everyone's happy, the players, the fans, and we have the best experience possible, both as a player and as a fan.
Now, I wanted to get your insight, because Manchester United employed the first ever sporting director over the summer in Dan Ashworth. You're a director of football as well at Salford City. So I'd just like to pick your brains, get some insight on what his day-to-day job would be, Dan Ashworth, inside Manchester United, and how closely he'd work with Erik ten Hag.
Well, first and foremost, I think it's a great appointment. I think Dan Ashworth, I've met him on a number of occasions. He's a nice guy, he's a great guy, but more importantly for Manchester United and Manchester United fans, he's very good at his job. He's probably the best. So, yeah, I mean, he'll work closely day-to-day with ten Hag. I think his job is obviously to fix things in the near future, but also have one eye on the future as well. You know, don't get too hasty about making sure that we try and get things right quickly. We have got to, of course, you know, Man United have got to be competing every season, but also have one eye on the future. You know, we don't want to be sat here again and like the stadium in 5 years' time, and where we made stupid decisions just for the moment rather than one eye on the future, and he'll do that. So, yeah, making sure that we get the recruitment right, where, you know, there will be players who maybe come in who we might need to give a little bit of time. United fans are, as long as we see progression both with the team and with the individuals, I think we're happy to bide our time, as long as we can see a goal and we can see a progression, and that we will be competing for a long time, which we've always done. So I think it's a great appointment. You know, I think he's done great business in the transfer market, and I think it'll only get better. I think we have to also be patient that, you know, this ain't going to be something that's going to be fixed overnight. But I think he's made a good start.
How heavily involved would you expect him to be in terms of transfers coming in and going out, in terms of like sanctioning deals and giving an overall vote on players?
Well, I think, you know, what was great about the relationship with David Gill and Sir Alex, not only the players that we got in, but also the players that we said no to, or maybe David Gill said no to Sir Alex. I think that is really important, that we safeguard the club. Now, of course, you've got to try and give the manager what he wants, but also doing the best for the club as well.
Yeah.
So having one eye, like I say, on the future, that if another manager comes in, is this player going to thrive under another manager, under another philosophy? So I think that's really important, that, yeah, you want to give the manager the best opportunity to win things, but also have one eye on the bigger picture and safeguarding the club, you know, in 3, 4, 5 years' time.
Yeah, but if you're saying Dan Ashworth is one of the best at his job and you know him personally, what is it you think he actually brings and benefits the club then?
I think it's a number of things. I think it's the know-how of players worldwide, relationships with agents, with other clubs, that you can get the deals done. And and not be overpaying, which we've certainly done in the last 10 years, and getting value for money, getting young, hungry players who want to play for the club, and we're not paying stupid money for, which we'll regret down the line. So I think there's a number of things, his experience, his know-how, things that maybe he's done wrong in the past, which, everyone learns from their mistakes. I think it's an excellent appointment, and, I'm excited, like all the United fans, to see what he can bring to the club.
Yeah, I totally agree. And another exciting appointment that was done over the summer was Ruud van Nistelrooy. A lot of Manchester United fans happy with that for obvious reasons. Now, a player you obviously played with in the team as well. Did you see like that natural progression from the football pitch into management and coaching from Ruud van Nistelrooy?
From my experience, there was any particular pattern where you look at a player and go, he's definitely going to be a manager or he's definitely not going to be? I think Ruud was always an intelligent footballer. Never got a pass off him, mind you, especially in the penalty area.
I think it was you always feeding him, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. But, I mean, what a player and what a finisher. I think anyone who played around his era at United will say that he's the best finisher that they've ever seen, and that's true. I think it's great to have an ex-player at the club, but also he's been a coach in his own right. He'll bring more than just a lot of people are saying he'll bring a lot to the strikers, he'll bring a lot to Marcus Rashford. Of course he will, but also defensive wise as well, because as attacking players you've got to try and figure out defenders' weaknesses, and also as an attacker you concentrate on defenders as well. So he'll bring not only a lot to the defenders, a lot to the attackers, but the overall team. And again, I'm excited to see him walk out that tunnel. I'm sure he'll get a great reception. Yeah. And then obviously he's got to do the business coaching wise.
After a disappointing season in the Premier League with Manchester United and Europe as well, we did finish off with that FA Cup win at Wembley against Manchester City, but there was a lot of noise building up to that and afterwards about the insecurity of Erik ten Hag's job. What did you make of all that as well, and what do you expect the relationship to now still be like with Erik ten Hag and the higher management?
Well, I think the club's got to get behind him. The fans have got to get behind him. The world we live in now, a couple of defeats, you're the worst manager in the world, a win like the FA Cup, everyone, we should keep him. So I think what he has shown is when he's had 11, 12 of his starters,
core players,
he's a good manager. I think, again, going back to Dan Ashworth, that's where he comes in. United players, all successful players have had strength in depth, because you're going to have suspensions, you're going to have injuries, which we've had too many of. So that's something that we've got to solve. He has proved when he's had all his players fit, he can compete. Now, we've got to get that strength in depth where we've got 18 players that if we have a few injuries, we can cope. That's the very minimum, 18. So I think we're starting to see that. And I was one of the ones who said we should keep him. Also, there was not a standout option to overtake him, to replace him where he was going to be a success. So, I'm quite happy. I'm excited. Like I say, looking forward to us having more strength in depth, and we've got to finish. Got to finish better than 8th next year.
Yeah, we must do. With you being a director of football as well, a lot's been made of like the playing style at Manchester United from last season, especially that midfield. A lot of people were saying the gaps in midfield, it was putting too much pressure on the defence, leaking goals, etc. Like I say, with you being a director of football, is that something that Dan Ashworth, Jason Wilcox as a technical director will be actually giving Ten Hag the instructions to play a certain way, or is it Erik ten Hag as the manager who actually sets the actual style of play?
No, I mean, you have a philosophy as a club, attacking football, scoring more goals than the opposition. You can't do it in every game, but I think obviously Erik ten Hag will have a way of playing, and it's about complementing that with, likes of Jason Wilcox, Dan Ashworth, because when you're a manager, you're in it, and sometimes looking out from in, you see different things. So if he has got the trust of Dan Ashworth, Jason Wilcox, then it's not about telling him how to play. It's maybe just the odd suggestion or the things that you may see that other people might not. For me, working with a manager who has sort of the confidence to take advice, receive advice. Yeah. Now, what you want to do with that advice is up to you, but not being arrogant enough that you know everything, you know best. But I think it's just about working together, and it's a new relationship. So early on, they will be finding each other out, and I'm sure lots of meetings on how they want to play, and that obviously influences the players that they get in.
There's a lot of comments on our channel always mentioning, like, let's say right footers on the left-hand side and left footers on the right-hand side. What benefits do you think that actually brings to a team, Ryan? Or would you prefer people who were on the left-hand side to be left footers like you were back in the day and right footers to be on the right-hand side?
Yeah, I mean, I'm waiting for the old school sort of left winger on the left-footed left
4-4-2.
Yeah. I mean, but football does evolve, and we have seen a lot of sort of that. The inverted fullback or the wide man coming in onto his favoured foot. So it's just a trend at the moment. And if you've got the players to do that, then great. I think there's always room for an out-and-out wide man on his favoured foot, beating fullbacks, getting crosses in. There'll always be room for football in that. So it's just about identifying the right players.
Is it about us as well as a football club getting the right fullbacks in as well, to have that partnership with the wide players so they can overlap and form an actual relationship on the pitch?
Yeah, I mean, drawing on my experience, early on, Dennis Irwin, what a brilliant player. He more or less left me to it. I was a young sort of winger who would use my pace, try and take players on, and he would back me up. Of course, he would get forward when he could, but he would give me the ball as quickly as possible. Fast forward 10, 15 years, I'm playing with Patrice Evra, who loved to get forward. Yeah. I'm not as quick. I would play in them little pockets. Patrice would be overlapping, underlapping, and I would have the experience and the know-how to stay in his position. So, Of course you want to develop a relationship. All players should be able to play with each other, but it's nice if you do have that relationship and that balance where, if you have got a player who likes to come inside, a fullback who will overlap, or an out-and-out winger where you have got a fullback who's more stay at home, back you up. It's about having them relationships, but that's, centre forward, centre midfielders, centre half. That's all around the pitch that you should have these relationships.
Yeah. Two players that you know well from your time as being the assistant to Louis van Gaal here at Manchester United is Marcus Rashford and Luke Shaw. But on Marcus Rashford, what's your feelings going into this new season with Marcus, and what's he got to do to improve on last season?
I think he'd be disappointed, obviously, getting left out in the summer, so he'll have a point to prove. I mean, we've all seen Marcus at his best. He's unplayable. He just, over the last year or so, looks like he's got the world on his shoulders. I want to see him, enjoying his football. And, I got told by Brian Kidd when I was at a very young age, you take a fullback on 10 times, you might get tackled 9 times, but that 10th time you'll win the match. I'd very much like to see Marcus that, if you do get tackled, if you do make a mistake, you go again, because we all know that he's got the ability.
Do you think it's possible this season, if we don't see an upturn in form from Marcus Rashford, where we will actually see him on the bench maybe for at least 2 or 3 games? Because we've got Garnacho there, Ryan. He keeps progressing game after game, in my opinion, and he will probably deserve to start if his performances don't turn up.
Garnacho's been a breath of fresh air, but also remember that he is a young player and there will be dips. There will be, we can't expect him to be brilliant every game. So Marcus has got to back himself, and this is what we want, competition for places, not just in games, but every day in training. That's what we had. I don't like going back to when we were playing, but every training session was a battle. I wanted to get one over on Gary Neville. I wanted to get one over on Rafa da Silva.
Would you say the training sessions were harder some weeks than the actual games because of the levels you set yourselves?
Yeah, it was easier on a Saturday. I wasn't coming up against fullback like Gary Neville. So sometimes in the week it was more difficult, but not all the time, of course. But that's the sort of standard that you want to get in training, whereas come Saturday, it's going to be easier because you're not coming up against better players than you have all week.
Yeah, Luke Shaw mentioned as well, it's just been recently revealed by Manchester United he's going to be out for the opening games of the season. Won't return until after the international break. Have Manchester United got a look in that position while the window's still open, Ryan, to maybe get a left back in, or do you think we can cover that until he gets back?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Malacio as well. Malacios, he's...
I think out till October, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we've had real problems, not only in the full-back positions, but all over the pitch regarding injuries. So that again is something that Dan Ashworth, Jason Wilcox will be looking at. The number of... the availability of players and where we need to strengthen in the different positions, or where we may be a little bit short, because you will get injuries, and we seem to be getting more than most. Hopefully we don't this season, but we need to be able to cope, and I'll talk about that again, that strength in depth. Whereas if we are missing a player, we've got someone who can come in.
Yeah, we were talking about Rashford and Garnacho on the left-hand side. Ahmad, a lot of people on our channel and Man United supporters that I speak to on a regular basis prefer Ahmad to start this season and to be given that opportunity of 4 or 5 games to see what he can do. Do you expect Ten Hag to do that?
Well, he's had a good pre-season, hasn't he? So I always think, if you're starting pre-season in form, then you should start the season. So, yeah, I wouldn't be against that. He's not really had a run of games, so let's see what he can do. But again, competition for places. And it should raise, Garnacho, Diallo, should raise the standards of the likes of Marcus, the likes of Anthony, Sancho. It should raise listen, to get into this team, I've got to be better than the players in front of me. Yeah.
What do you think of Manchester United signings up to now this summer and the profile of players that they've brought in, like Leny Yoro, De Ligt, Mazraoui and Zirkzee as well? Are they players that you look at and think they can definitely cut it here at Manchester United, wear the badge and the weight of that shirt?
Yeah, I do. I think they've played at big clubs. What I like is they look young, hungry, and they look like they want to come and play for the club. Everything that I've seen, these players can't wait to play for Manchester United and see it as an honour. And there's not so much sort of being made about how much they're getting paid, because I think we've paid too much, both transfer fees and wages, for players who simply weren't good enough. Whereas, again, I don't know if it's Dan Ashworth, Jason Wilcox, the overall hierarchy, different structure has gone. And like I keep saying, we may have to go back to go forward, but it's about getting players in who want to play for Man United and want to come to the club. They're not hanging about, wanting more money. They seem to have been done pretty quickly. So for me, that's a clear sign that they want to come and play for the club. I mean, listen, they won't be getting paid peanuts.
No.
But, not so much I've seen has been they're on this, they're on that. It's about them wanting to come and play for United.
Yeah, that's the main thing. A player who I've just seen recently leave Man United, and that was Wan-Bissaka. With him being a right back, you being a left winger, you would have come out on top in the 90 minutes with Wan-Bissaka, you think?
I would have stayed away from him, I think. Especially later on in my career. I would have took him places where he didn't want to go, because one-on-one, I mean, I think, he was one of the best in the league, obviously. So, yeah, a couple of things. I would have played in that little pocket rather than up against him. I think a couple of times I would have faked to cross it or shoot and just tried to nick a penalty, because he did go down to ground quite a lot. But other than that, he would have been very tough to play against.
Yeah, like we said earlier on about last season, wasn't acceptable where Manchester United finished. But going into a fresh new season now, Ryan, what's your expectations and what do you see going forward into the season as like a realistic target in where we should finish?
Well, we've got to be top 4. And like I said, we've got to see progression. So the results at Old Trafford last year in the league weren't good enough. They weren't good enough away from home either. But making this place a fortress, making this place somewhere where the away teams fear coming. And, we've done well winning 2 trophies in the last couple of years. So, but I think progression, playing the right way, seeing the young players who have come in do well. Garnacho, again, just keep improving. And, hopefully seeing these new signings fit in pretty quickly, which isn't always the case. Improvement, but also a little bit of patience as well, that we are moving in the right direction. But, yeah, I would say 4th is a minimum.
What's been your thoughts over across the road at Liverpool and what's been going on there over the summer? Brought a new manager in, Arne Slot. They've not made any signings up to now. Do you think it's a vital season as well for Manchester United and Erik ten Hag specifically to get better, to get one over on Arne Slot this season, to see progression, to get Man United back on top of Liverpool? Do you think this is a vital opportunity now they've changed manager over there with Jurgen Klopp leaving?
I think I've said for a few years, we've got to be ready to strike for when Klopp and Guardiola leave, because without shadow of doubt, over the last 7-8 years, they've been brilliant. And they've been in the job. So not only are they outstanding managers, they've been in the job and they're in the club and they're just adding the 1 or 2 players that they need. That's what we need to get to. So we need to be ready to strike. It's not a guarantee, because Arne Slot's obviously a top manager, but we need to be ready for, not worry about the opposition or worry that they're not bringing players in or they're changing managers, but also recognise that we concentrate on ourselves, but we are ready to strike if any other club is struggling regarding managers or bringing players in.
Yeah, top of the league. Who do you think is going to win it this year?
I don't know. I mean, I think, City winning it what would it be, five
in a row.
5 in a row, which, is unbelievable achievement. I think Arsenal will be up there again. I think they'll just keep improving. So I'll say Arsenal.
Arsenal to win the league?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And you think United will make the top 4?
I think they will, yeah. I think they will. I think with the structure that we've now got in place, I think we've made some good signings. I think we've got some of the most exciting young players, Manu and Garnacho. Can't wait to see them keep improving. I think we've got a great chance.
Yeah, just like to thank you today. An absolute pleasure, Ryan, to interview you. If you've enjoyed today's video, which I'm sure you have done, smash a like on the video, and we'll be back tomorrow with another Manchester United chat. So we'll see you all there. Thank you, everyone.